welcome to all of you. You're watching Tech24. Last year, the total amount in ransoms paid by cyberattack victims reportedly reached $18 billion, with the number of attacks in the United States alone increasing by 300%. Our tech editor, Peter O'Brien, will tell you how it has grown into such a lucrative industry, with a majority of the stolen cryptocurrency shared among small but highly organized groups of criminals. Plus, in Test 24, we'll try TechnoGym MyRun, a treadmill that can be synchronized to your tablet. When linked with its native app or a virtual online trainer, it promises to give other high-end exercise tech a run for its money. Now, many secrets actually lie under the sea. Indeed, 99% of our telecommunications now transit under our oceans via submarine cables. But intelligence services around the world are also increasingly using these cables to spy on other states, as the NSA allegedly did on German Chancellor Angela Merkel.
Somewhere on the Atlantic coast, an operation is taking place out of sight, underneath this barge. It's impossible to get any closer to the boat, where divers are laying the last few meters of a submarine communications cable. Dubbed the Amitié, the 6,600-kilometer-long cord will link the United States to the UK and France. It will be connected here, amidst these pines. And it's a sensitive site. We're not allowed to question or identify the workers to protect their digital security, as this cable, no wider than a garden hose, will transit the emails, calls, and searches of millions of Europeans.
Hospitals, the civil service, companies, eventually the communications of most people using the internet in France and in Europe will go through this cable at some point.
There are currently 447 submarine cables crisscrossing the oceans, transmitting 99% of worldwide communications. Billions of pieces of information are exchanged in this way, some of which are attracting the attention of world powers. In 2013, Edward Snowden revealed that the American NSA intelligence agency was monitoring underwater cables. And in late May, Danish journalists came to the same conclusion, revealing that the communications of Angela Merkel and other leaders had been spied on by the United States. And though France has publicly condemned the practice, French law permits the interception of submarine cable communications. Given their significant strategic importance, experts say some future conflicts could even take place at the bottom of the ocean.
If the cables that connect a state are damaged, its communication with the rest of the world will be limited. Even if there are no claimed offensive operations on these cables, the world powers are, in any case, flexing their muscles in this area.
New ambitions and surveillance programs that could cost tens of billions of euros. The deep and vast seabed is still a place that humans can neither control nor secure.
From a major gas pipeline to Florida City's water supply and one of the world's top meat producers, 2021 has seen a sharp rise in cyber attacks, often disrupting sensitive infrastructure. Hackers have favored ransomware attacks that allow them to gain access to computer system and disrupt or lock them until they get paid. Well, for more on this, let's now turn to our tech editor, Peter O'Brien. Hello, Peter.
Hi, Julia.
So what exactly is a ransomware attack?
Well, it all starts with malware. It doesn't necessarily start with a teenager in a hoodie with lots of ones and zeros.
That's the cliche, I guess.
Yes. So it can be simply a link that you come across in an email or on a website, and a message will come up saying your data has been locked and you need to pay up to receive the key to unlock it. Another form it can take is blackmail. So a hacker might have got access to some of your sensitive information that you really don't want deleted or put out in public, and they'll say, we're going to do exactly that unless you pay. And it's actually gone from a kind of fringe practice to a really very professionalized service. So you can now actually rent ransomware from a provider which is called Ransomware as a Service. And so that means that people can launch attacks without any of the know-how technically themselves.
So it's not just hackers, anybody can start using ransomware attacks. Now, where did that surge actually come from?
Well, it's been bubbling around for a few years, but it's become basically an epidemic. So if you look in the US last year alone, hundreds of schools, hundreds of hospitals have been attacked, more than 100 government agencies and thousands of businesses. Lots of these places are woefully underprepared for this kind of attack. To name a couple that you in addition to the ones you've named, a ferry operator in Massachusetts, the Irish healthcare system, and also Washington, D.C.'s police department. And of course, it's chaos when they lose all access to their software.
Now, I also imagine that the more, of course, people cough up, the more that encourages hackers, and that's what actually happened in the latest big attacks that we've seen.
Yeah, so in May, there were two seriously disruptive ransomware attacks. You touched on one of them. It's JBS, the world's biggest meatpacking company, and there were fears this would cause disruption to supply. They paid hackers $11 million worth of Bitcoin. The other one has been that attack on Colonial Pipeline, which is the biggest fuel pipeline in the US that caused panic buying. They shelled out 75 Bitcoin, which at the time was worth $4.4 million. The Justice Department actually managed to track down most of this Bitcoin and recover it, but by that point, it was worth a lot less. So where's all this money disappearing? Well, we know that the ransomware business is dominated by syndicates operating from Russia and nearby countries, but as to who's hiring them, that's a lot more difficult to find out.
Thank you very much for that, Peter. Now, just to give you a better idea of how much of a growing problem ransomware attacks are, recently FBI Director Christopher Wray said the agency was investigating about 100 different types of ransomware, many tracing back to Russian hackers. He also compared the current spat of cyber attacks with the challenges posed by the 9/11 terrorist attacks. The head of the National Cybersecurity Agency of France also came out asking French companies to stop paying ransoms. Well, let's now cross over to Sébastien Garneau. He's the founder of the Cyber Task Force and the Paris Cyber Week, which has just come to a close. Hello and welcome.
Hello.
So what exactly was the aim of the Paris Cyber Week, and why is it so important to raise awareness on cyber threats?
Well, thank you first for your invitation. And to answer to your question, I would say that the aim is to create an annual meeting for all the decision makers, both public and private, in order to cross views and to deliver solutions that comes from the private sector, the public sector, but also from academics, economics and politics, because in cyber, all these three pillars are involved. So this is why we have created this in Paris, and in a way, it's just the following of the Paris call for the stability of the cyberspace.
So, Sebastian, how do you explain the fact that French companies in particular tend to pay ransoms, and why is it such a vicious circle?
Well, I would say because they are not prepared, and as they are not prepared, they are targeted much more than the other. And as they are paying, then it's a wrong cycle that comes to place, because, well, attackers are the same as businesses. They are looking at the best target for the best revenue. Guillaume Poupard, you just said it, declared that French businesses are more paying, and I would say more than the EU countries, because finally the awareness and the level of preparation is that low that finally we have no choice to pay. The other point is that you have insurance who help the SMEs to pay this ransom. So as there is a kind of market of the ransom, and as the French SMEs are known as good payer, they are more targeted.
Now, what should companies actually do instead of paying?
Well, they would, instead of paying, is the kind of it is the problem of the prisoner. For your own interest, you should pay, but for the collective security and the collective safety, you shouldn't. So instead of paying, they should be tooled. That means training their partner, the workforce. The first problem is the workforce. You talk about ransomware, but a ransomware needs someone to click. So if the people are trained, then you will reduce the risk. The second is that you need to have tools for that. And till you won't do that, then you will be targeted, and then you at the end of the day, you need to pay because these data are strategic. Which kind of data? we are talking about the financial data. This is what they are paying.
Sébastien Garneau, thank you very much indeed for speaking to us here on Tech24.
Thank you very much, Julia. Have a nice day.
And we're going to move on now to Test 24. Gyms are back open here in Paris, but Peter, you've got a compelling reason not to venture to one of them just yet.
Yeah, that's right. Unsurprisingly, the pandemic led to a huge boom in home gym kit. But forecasters are saying actually this is a trend that might continue, helped by the rise of online virtual trainers. The only thing potentially restricting this market is the cost of such equipment. And we've got a good example here today. It's the Technogym My Run, and it's a superb bit of kit, but it better be at €3,250.
Now at that, hefty price, what can this treadmill do that a regular treadmill can't do?
Yeah, so of course, Technogym is renowned for their good build quality. They supply lots of professional gyms. So this thing's very sturdy and nice and weighty, but it still has a soft feel for when you're running on it. The nice thing I like about it is it's got these physical buttons. We don't see enough physical buttons on tech these days, do we, Julia? So it's got a big button to start and stop, a button to turn up the speed if I'm feeling brave enough, and to adjust the incline as well. One good thing about this is you can slot in any tablet you might have and use it with all sorts of applications, not just the MyRun official one, which gives you access to on-demand classes. Perhaps its main competitor at this price point is Peloton, which released the Peloton Tread. This, though, locks you into a subscription service because it comes with its own fancy screen and you can only access Peloton classes on it. Then Technogym don't need to worry, though, because Peloton have had to recall it after a number of injuries.
Now, Peter, if you want to exercise, then you're going to have to increase the
Pump
speed there.
Yeah,
but thank you
I know.
very
I'm not
much,
used to this.
Peter, for that. It brings us to the end of this week's edition of Tech24. We hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you soon.